We will be hosting this every second Tuesday, and you will be dialing in at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Our TAC Talks are recorded and live. They will be available on our Linux Foundation, AI and Data, LinkedIn, and YouTube channels as well. So how it will happen is I will invite some of the guests from our projects, and I will do a discussion. They will do a technical deep dive onto their projects, and also we will have amazing call to action on how you can get involved. So feel free to stick at the end because we will be sharing a lots of resources for you to get involved with specific projects. So throughout the presentation, if something spikes interesting to you, please definitely go ahead and ask your questions in the LinkedIn as well as YouTube channels. And if you're looking at this or watching at it after the session, that's fine. You can still leave the comments because we will be monitoring and we will make sure that those get answered in a timely manner. So with that, I'm super excited to host our first guest for the TAC Talks, Rachel from Intel. And we have an amazing project that got accepted by TAC Committee of Linux Foundation AI and Data called OPEA. So I would love to have Rachel talk about her project and what motivated and things like that. So with that, please join me in welcoming Rachel. Hi, Rachel. How are you doing
Hi,
today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. It's exciting that you are launching this whole new series. I think it's going to garner a lot of support and audience. Um, shall I dive into my slides?
Yeah, Rachel. But before you dive into the slides, I would love a quick introduction of yourself, like, what your current role is, what are some of the things you have done in your career, and why Linux Foundation AI and Data. That would be great.
Yeah, sure, definitely. So right now I am with Intel and I am director of open source strategy. I just joined this team at the end of last year. And so generally that is all about helping to tell our story internally and externally, and also figuring out how do we best manage working with foundations, working with other partners, making sure that we are a culture of open source first and foremost, and then how do we make sure that we are being a part of the open source community. So that's what I've done at Intel. Previous to that, I was part of for a long time working with technologists to create content for learning purposes. And that ranged anywhere from, AI to programming languages to, data engineering. But during that time, I was also a a chair of OSCON, which was a big open source conference back in the day. So I was chair of that for about 5 years, which is where I sort of got more into open source, into the culture and understanding everything that goes into it, which is a lot, as you know. And then I found myself, we were launching OPEA this past spring. And wow, that has been quite a lot of work for a lot of people. And
You have been
it's been
doing.
fascinating.
That's awesome, Rachel. Like you nailed every single aspect: open source, data engineering, AI, and so many different aspects. And OSCON, I don't think I am aware of that. Was that the conference that was in the past?
Yeah, so that was a conference that was run by O'Reilly Media. It was around for
Mhm.
about 20 years. I was sort of at the tail end of it as a chair, and then COVID kind of, shut it down. But amazing, amazing conference. I think a lot of great community was built there. A lot of networking, a lot of knowledge and inspiration. So that was a highlight of my career, being a part of
That's amazing, Rachel. I'm just like here. I have millions of questions to you for your career itself because it's hitting like a lot of open source and AI. But let's keep ourselves to OPIA for today.
that.
And I would love for you to dive into OPIA and yeah, share what you have so
Okay,
far for
so
OPIA.
I know we want this to be conversational. I did make slides. Interrupt me if you want. I will do
Okay.
my best to answer. As we've talked about previous, my technical knowledge goes only so deep, and I'm going to have a colleague from Intel join us at some point. So with that, I will begin. Let me.
Definitely, Rachel. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. So slides. So as mentioned, we started up, or I should say, we brought this project, Open Platform for Enterprise AI, or OPEA, as we've said, to the Linux Foundation. It was like officially launched on April 16th at the Open Source Summit, North America. So that was very exciting. This is sort of why we did this, right? So Gen AI basically like exploded onto all of us, but we know it was sort of like percolating underneath. And so since then, though, it is like everything everywhere is Gen AI. How do I use Gen AI? What the heck is it? But enterprises, as you know, have issues, right? Like they can't just be like, oh, the new shiny. Like that's what I'm going to use all the time. There's lots of considerations that you need to implement the new and shiny and something as valuable as Gen AI in an enterprise, right? So Gartner actually pulled this together about some of the top barriers, and you'll see that OPEA aims to answer some of these, right? So as you can see on the right, first of all, we are, proponents of the idea that open ecosystems, basically one of our things is open ecosystems are better than closed, right? Because they can remove these barriers. They can
Yes.
teach people. They can bring all great minds together and induce interoperability. The rising tide lifts all boats, that kind of thing, right? So specifically here, they bring up things that I think are something that you see across when you're implementing some new technology, right? But this idea that with generative AI projects comes new ways of implementing them technically, right? A whole new way to learn how to do things, right? There's also a cost of running generative AI, in people's time and how they have to learn and needing more compute time and space. Even LLMs take a lot of actual electricity to run.
Yes.
There's been, even before this, there's been like a dearth of talent, right? In like people that know enough about AI to actually do this, right? So, which is why we've seen a lot of frameworks come up that say, dump your data into this, we'll help you get it done, right? Which is fine sometimes. That's all before you get to the point of, well, there's so many different things, but before you even get into production, right? And when you're in production, you need to make sure that you're aware of model drifting, having a governance in place, right? Thinking about security, privacy, transparency, right? If you're in a regulated system, you need to be showing what it is doing and why, right? So these are just a few of the issues that you can see, right? And so the other thing that comes with sort of new technology is that there's lots of fragmentation, right? Which is the exciting part of fragmentation is that there's lots of new energy and excitement and lots of different ways to do it and lots of options. But once you're trying to pull something together to make a cohesive piece of software and application, that interoperability and smooth the necessary smoothness you need to get it up and running can be problematic, right? So OPA is something where we're trying to pull together these composable modules, right, that create a Gen AI workflow, right? So one of our goals is this ease of development and deployment. Security obviously is important for everyone. I think enterprise has like an added level of security and concern, and especially if you're in a regulated industry. Return on investment is basically, again, where any new technology, one of the first things we see, like at an OzCon or at different events or online, is basically, what the heck do I do with this? Like, you can just slap a Gen AI on anything, right? Like, what do I actually do where it is additive? It isn't just doing it for doing its sake. Like, where are the business use cases? Which comes to the last one, right? A lot of the business use cases right now are in the chat Q&A space, right? But there's all different types of things that you can do But you might not know that. You might not make the connection between, my company needs this for, research and discovery, right? For all of the data that we have, like in manufacturing. So I think it's just really about bringing people together and talking about it. So OPA aims to do that, right? They want to simplify this idea of like how you can actually adopt it, why you would, and then making sure that the adoption is like enterprise grade or enterprise ready, as you'll see later. So again, so the idea that this is open is so that we can get all of these great pieces that are out there in the ecosystem, all of the different ISVs, OEMs, OSVs, like working together so that you can pick and choose. That's a great thing, right? You can pick whatever makes most sense for you and make sure that it works with the other piece, right? So bringing that whole community together, working through it, showing these examples, showing what is possible, validating different architectures, having different microservices. So basically like a guidepost in, the world of Gen AI. And I also think, and we say this here, like this idea that like open source is really a catalyst, right? To moving forward faster is what I always say, right? So bringing these people together, hopefully we can have a variety of answers and better answers for anyone's problems, right? And so we talk about, it's seamless, it's fast, it's open, and scalable, which is super important as well, right? And ubiquitous, like runs everywhere, right? Cloud, on-prem, on different hardware. That was important for us as well. And so then we talk about here, this is just a glimpse at the ecosystem complexity, right? So before you even get to the AI of it all, right, you need to make sure that your data is looking good, that it's prepared, it's available how you want it, it's you can go grab it when you want it. You want to use graph databases, vector databases, right? Um, Making sure like that is basically like, as you know, the food of AI, right? So before you even get to that, that's that. Then are you using an LLM? Are you building it? Are you fine-tuning it? How are you putting that data in? What are your trusted sources, right? And then you have to deploy and productize it, right? And so I mean, just each of these steps I think is so gigantic that if we can bring some simplification or enlightenment to it, I think that would be doing everyone a great service. And hopefully you can be part of that. This is something that our engineers pulled together just to show the complexity of what is, my understanding is, a very pretty basic RAG implementation, right? So you're ingesting the data, like I said. There's the database, the retrieval, the RAG of it all, the guardrails, um, and then fine tuning, and then processing, right? So this is all happening, and this is a basic one, is my understanding. So the OPA is two sort of general pieces, right? One is all of these constructible building blocks, right? That we have like these different models, the system components, all this idea of sort of it being this composable, modular AI workflow and system, right? And then making it so that it really does cover all of those different choices. Like we've been talking with different database companies that are now partners. Like we have Zillus, and we have Neo4j, and we have MariaDB, right? So you can use whichever one of those makes most sense. And hopefully this project will try and make it easier to sort of swap out the pieces that you need, as well as show you the pieces that you need and the best way to put it together. The second piece is actually really cool. It's this idea of, it's a few things, right? It's this idea of being able to grade any proposed architecture and say, yeah, this is an OPA grade 3. I'm just making that up. I don't know if that's the system to make, right? But the idea being that looking at these core things that we have put out there as important, and obviously the community can decide otherwise, right? This idea that performance is important, having a certain number of features, trustworthiness, which I believe we're meaning to say like privacy and security, and then enterprise readiness, right? This idea that we would grade these and that people could come in and be like, oh, that has everything that I need. Or like eventually be like, that's an OPEA grade 3. That's what I need for this. Or I need a 4 or a 1 or whatever. The other thing is possibly in the future being able to present the OPA team with like, here's what we're thinking. Can you grade this and do like some sort of assessment so we know where we're at and how we might change things? This is just, we have like a ton of partners. We've been reaching out to the community. Everybody's been so amazing. I believe we have one more since July 8th. We have ZTE, which just joined us a day or so ago. So welcome to them. But a lot of great companies here that we're working with on contribution and sort of like amplifying what we're doing in OPA. We
So,
have our,
Rachel,
yeah,
on
please,
the
sorry.
like, I do have a question. So these partners that you mentioned,
Mhm.
have they been directly like helping this project grow? Like, have they contributed to the roadmap? How are they involved with the project itself?
So we're just starting to get contributions. So far, we're working with Neo4j to do like a graph rag example. Um, Pathway, I believe, has presented something to us, which is in there as a pull request. Prediction Guard, yeah. Now that I'm seeing this, we have a lot of new partners. Prediction Guard put in something where they implemented guardrails on the system. Um, Red Hat validated one of the architectures. So, what we're seeing, I think, are sort of like additive pieces like that and or use cases or validations. So, it's still early days. It's been 3 months, but that's how we're seeing people participate. Like we want to see. So we looked at like that example that we had like a vector database, right? But
Yes.
we know that that's not the only thing that people use. They use graph databases. So that's where Neo4j came in and was like, oh, we'll give you, some guidance around, when you want to implement and how you would implement graph databases in this sort of RAG pipeline. So we're seeing stuff like that. Starting to see, interoperability with what all of these different companies offer.
Mm, got it. How about Hugging Face?
Hugging Face, nothing so far that I know of. But I know that that's someone that Intel works with anyways.
I see.
So I'm sure we'll be doing more with them.
Yeah, and quick, this is amazing, Rachel. And if somebody wants to be a partner of OPEA, how can they partner? What are you looking for in the project that they can come and help with?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward at this. So they can contact me, or Arun Gupta is another person at Intel that can be contacted. There's also a general email, info@opa.dev. I mean, basically, what we're looking for is someone who wants to be a part of the community, right? Someone that is going to come in and improve upon and expand and um, change, right? What we have for the better. Like, we want active people in there. We also want people to start telling their stories about how they're doing things, right? Because, again, I think that with something so new, it's just about sharing your ideas and helping people figure out how it makes sense for their business, and then also helping to spread the word and talk about it at their own conferences, and go on podcasts and talk about how you know OPA has made sense for them, or how they're incorporated into it, or how the solution can help other people.
Yeah, makes sense. And with the growing community and so many tools, sometimes, people just want, like, developers want friendly projects who have integrations with like their favorite tools. They might have two or three favorites. So I think it's amazing to have partnership landscape grow and, like, yeah, amazing. Yeah. So I'll stop my question there, Rachel. I know you
Oh,
had
sure, no
another slide.
problem. So we have set up the technical steering committee. You can see here we have a bunch of great people. They've met a few times now, so they're still kind of getting up and running. But it was important for us to make sure that we had bunch of different people from a bunch of different types of companies, so we could get different perspectives in there. And of course, with open source, we will be having elections again in a year, and every year, I should say. And so this will be something that people can go for and be elected to, and it's great.
That's
We're
amazing.
also just establishing working groups, like literally right now. Like some of them have met for the first time, some of them are going to be meeting for the first time in August. And so these are places, certainly not only where we want to do some work, but where we want to bring people together to start to look through. To start to focus on, right? So we wanted one for end users, right? We know that that's been really successful. In the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, for instance. We want to know, what do they need? How are they using it? How do we get feedback from them that can feed the evolution of OPA, right? So I think that's really important. Evaluation, that is that second part that we were talking about, right? Like, how do you evaluate like the safety, performance, scalability, right? That's one that's just getting started. Super interesting. Research. So, again, this is where researchers and like academia can come in and say, you need to do, these, we don't need to, but we want you to look into these things. These are the new features that we want to have, right? Security, always important for everyone. I think, especially with when technology is new, and if you're dealing with, big companies, it is something that is important, and important to understand. I think, to be able to explain it to other stakeholders as well that might not be in your technical area. And then of course community, where we're sort of building out this structure, hopefully to create, I don't want to say necessarily a self-sustaining community, but one that, has a place to be, can start talking to each other, doesn't always have to be necessarily guided. But, we're doing events, we're out on the social media, building the mailing list, all of that good stuff.
It's great, Rachel, how you called out some of the cross-functional communities even within the Linux Foundation, because I
Mhm.
think that's one of the key things, how we can partner with each other. And because components like AI or maybe security,
Mhm.
they interoperate, so it's very important that we have that connection too. So I'm grateful that you called this out. Security, definitely, even if I work in AI, and data security and confidential computing is on top of mind for me. So CCC, again, want
Yep.
to call that out. That yeah, that's an
Thank you.
amazing
Yes.
foundation. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
that's the glory of open source, right? Kind of looking around and seeing what people have done that have worked well. And I agree, like, we're definitely wanting to work more with the other projects within the LFAI and data space where it makes sense. Um, so yeah. Just wanted to point out that we are starting to have demos. We'll probably have a few more in the by the end of September. And that's always good, because that's sort of like where the rubber meets the road, right? Like, we're like, no, seriously, it works, right? So you can actually see what it does, why it would be of interest to you. And I'll make all of these slides available wherever you all want to put them, so that you can go and click into all of this stuff. But that to me is sort of like, instead of being like, no, it's a great idea, let me show you it's a great idea, and this is why, right? And again, sort
yes.
of giving you that food for your own inspiration and how you want to use it. Um, we are, as I said, we're starting up ongoing meetings. We have a calendar. All of this you can see if you go to opa.dev. And it's either on there or on the wiki. So that would be the main place to go. But like I said, we're starting up ongoing working group meetings and the TSC meeting. We have had a couple of community events, one in person, one online. And then, as I've mentioned to you, we're going to try a LinkedIn Live event, much like we're doing here, right? Where
Oh,
we're
yeah.
going to showcase a couple of demos. And then we're actually going to add on at the end of that, like, show how do you get started, right? How can you pull together a demo or a proof of concept or something like that, right? Basically helping to onboard people to use it, to contribute, to give feedback. In September, we are going to do an OPA hackathon actually at Intel Innovation on September 24th. That's in San Jose, California. And
I
then the
was
rest
just
of
gonna
the, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna ask you, like, where the hackathon is, in person or virtual? Yeah, but
Yep,
you
in
answered it.
person. Yep. And then the rest of the year, we're going to do virtual stuff. I figured October it might be fun just to like talk about like horrific things that have happened
Halloween.
and we've tried to work through in the spirit of Halloween. I just think that's too like it's fun, it's human, it's we can learn. Do you know what I mean? Like everybody like has these things happen to them. Um, November, go back and do sort of a more standard community day where we're talking through things. And then in December, I haven't done one of these, but I know these have been successful. This idea of sort of like really working on things, right? This idea that, you know, what issues need to be closed, what documentation gaps do we have, and do something like that that's fun. Maybe we have prizes, you know, end of the year holidays, something fun like that.
This is awesome. Rachel, one thing I would like to call out is I see a lot of community events from OPEA happening. So that's why it's amazing to see how much you are putting efforts into community events. And there have been a lot of people I got to talk to and the amazing work they are doing. So this is cool to see. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, and hopefully, you know, it's helping other people network too. Like I said, when technology is nascent, it's just good to talk to people. It's like you soak up that information. Like we'll have obviously a program, right? But it's just like kind of being there and hearing what people ask and in some of those cases, hopefully getting experience, right?
Yeah.
Um, so here is just some website information. So, website, some of the social media things that we're doing, always looking for help with amplification in terms of what we're doing, the different releases we put out, obviously, the different events that we have. We want more and more people to be there. This is like a weird slide. Okay. This again, like I said, I'll make everything available, but this is another way if you want to snap a picture with the QR code. But definitely looking for more people to be an active part of the community, whether you're an individual or an enterprise. Talked a lot about enterprise, but as we know, it's individuals too that are maintainers and users and really make something popular. And as you can see, I'm really hitting hard on the demo palooza on August 21st. So so I'd love for you to be there.
Yes, yes. And
But
Rachel, I have
yeah.
somebody asked a question, and also we have Iris on the call. So
Oh yeah.
I would just ask the question that was asked. Um, Going to market is way harder. The proof of concept. What evaluation and responsible AI tools are you partnering with? So I think you answered some of it already, but I would love to have your insight on if there are any other potential partners.
You mean in terms of the partners that I showed?
I think the question is going to market is harder than proof of concept. So, what evaluation and responsible AI tools? I think
Oh,
they're
that's an
looking.
Iris question.
Okay, awesome. Well, perfect. That's a perfect segue to welcome Iris, our next guest on the call.
Yeah, thank
Hi,
you. So I'm very glad to be here. So back to the question, we actually have a separate repo under OPEA on the GitHub. So the repo is OPEA dash project slash GenAI evaluation. So generally for evaluating the models on text generation tasks, we follow the LLM evaluation harness and provide the command line usage and the function calls usage. So we have a lot of standard academic benchmarks. We also have some a lot of benchmarking tools specifically for benchmarking the LLM specific tasks. So yeah, please go visit the GenAI evaluation GitHub repo, and you can find more details on this space.
awesome. Well, Iris, that's awesome. Hitting you right in with the question, but let's introduce yourself to the audience. Like, what do you do? What are some of the cool things you are doing right now, and how can people work with you? Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I'm currently working at Intel as a cloud software engineer. So my current focus is to leverage the cloud native related technology to make sure the IIM can run the RAG pipeline can run seamlessly in the cloud environment. So specifically to OPEA, I'm leading a project. It's called the Gen AI Microservices Connector. So the basic idea is to under OPA, we have a lot of Gen AI components, and they are running as separate microservices. So for end user, we want to provide a capability like user can easily compose all these microservices together. And for example, if you want to switch your LLM model, or you want to add a one hop, like maybe one day I want to add a re-ranking to the whole pipeline, then I can do this very easily through the Gen AI microservices connector. So for you, you just modify the Gen AI, it's called GMC in short. You just modify the GMC configuration, and then we will provision and for example, if the service has already been there, we will reuse the service and connect them intelligently in the cloud and the Kubernetes environment. Yeah. So basically, the project is hosted under Gen AI Infra. So make sure if you have a chance to take a look at there.
Awesome. So Iris, how can I get started on the project, for example? Like, what are the components I will need? How should I set up my infrastructure? Yeah, can you please shed a light on
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, sure. So basically, under our GitHub repo, there are several sub project. The one is the most straightforward one. You can for end user you can utilize is Gen AI example, because we put a bunch of examples here, like the typical chat Q&A example, the document summary, or audio Q&A, a bunch of sample here. And under each of the sample, we have different deployment scenario. Like if you want to deploy using your PC, you can select a small model and using Docker directly. So under each example, there is a folder called Docker. So if you are using Docker, not the Kubernetes environment, you just follow the guidance there. And if you are running in a Kubernetes environment, under each example, there is a Kubernetes folder. So we have detailed README, like how you in your Kubernetes environment, how you set up all these examples step by step. And also, if you want some advanced features, especially in cloud native, make sure you check out the Gen AI infrastructure repo. So there are some, manifest or Helm chart or the GMC config there. And also we have a bunch of examples like how you switch the model very easily in the cloud environment.
Got it. That's awesome. Should we share? If you're comfortable, should we share the GitHub repo on screen? And just quick walk through the folder, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Give me a minute.
While she's doing that, who do you have next for the TAC Talk? I'm curious. Like, who's in 2 weeks?
Yes, we will have some newest projects who joined us in the LFAI and data. So we would be bringing guests from Databricks.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. So we have amazing pipeline. But Rachel, feel free to recommend if you would like anybody to present at the TAC Talks. I think we have a growing community, and a lot of people actually have been interested in getting involved, not only in the projects but also work streams and how they can help with the community. So that'd be great.
I agree. I think we're always like, join us. Come to. We want contributions. We want participation. But sometimes you need to give a couple of directions on how to get there.
Exactly. Yeah. And hopefully this talk serves as a medium, because sometimes, just getting to the GitHub repo, for example, like the first piece of code, it gets intimidated for some people. So I think having them give them a place like, oh, this is exactly where you're going to look at the code.
Exactly.
So that's going to be a little bit helpful, I guess. Awesome. I can see your screen, Iris.
Okay, yeah, this is our GitHub project homepage. So you can see under the homepage we have several sub project. So this Gen AI example is what I mentioned. I mean, if you want to get started to leverage OPEA, for some examples here, you can go through this repo, and for each of the example, you will have a Docker version. So follow and we will support different platform like in the Dayon server or the AI PC, and in each of the folder you have detailed steps about how to leverage this example via Docker. And also under this example, there is a Kubernetes folder. So we also have examples here, like how you deployed the chat Q&A example in Kubernetes cluster via GMC. So this is the if the first user to OPA you want to try the GenAI example, I will suggest to go start with this repo, and then the GenAI components. Actually, this is some all the backend components. We leverage to compose different of Gen AI examples. For example, here you have embedding service, guardrail service, LLM service. So all the components are here. So basically, the relationship between these two projects is Gen AI example will leverage the Gen AI components, under this repo. Then the other important one is the Gen AI infra. So this repo is majorly focused on the cloud native or Kubernetes side. Like you have the microservices connector. It's called GMC. So how you to leverage the GMC to provision and compose a Gen AI application in the cloud environment dynamically, and also how to leverage it to integrate with some enterprise-ready capabilities like authentication, authorization, such kind of thing. Then the other important repo is this Gen AI evaluation. So this is also some question coming right about how we do evaluation, how we do the benchmark, a scorecard. So what tool we are using is, you can find all the details in this repo. And then the docs repo, you can find our, the whole project, the roadmap, or a bunch of discussions here. And this is some, for the community governance material. Yeah, I think that's all for the current, layout for the project.
So Iris, that's good. Thank you. Helpful. Are these components individual or do they interoperate? For example, like can they be just, for example, the first repo that you showed, can it act as independent on its own, or does it dependent on installing like any other um,
Yeah, basically the GI components is it provides the components for the GI example and the GI infra. And for each of the GI components, if you see here, like we have different components like the data preparation, embedding, guardrail, LLM. So we will make sure these components can interact with each other seamlessly. So yeah, then using these components, you can easily to compose different Gen AI examples and run it in the cloud environment using the Gen AI infra. So some basic relationship between these three repos.
Got it, got it. And Iris, you mentioned about the benchmarks earlier.
Mhm.
Can you point me where we can find that?
Yeah, this is under the Gen AI evaluation. So
Okay,
we
got
have benchmark, yes, scorecard. So all this thing is located in this repo.
Got it. And from your perspective, what is OPA providing? Should people think of it as a framework, as a platform, or like, yeah, in your definition, how would you describe it as it plays?
Yeah, I will think like it's a very open platform, especially for the GenAI components. You can see, for example, for the data preparation. Let's take this for example. You can see for this data preparation components, it has a bunch of implementations here, like Redis, PG Vector, Middleverse, So we will welcome the partners or the contributors to the community to contribute to their implementation. Then for the end user, they can easily select according to their need, whether they want to use Redis or others. And Rachel mentioned just before, right? We also collaborating some vector graph database to do to add support here. So from my point of view, I think OPEA provide end user a platform, and under this platform, you have some very easy to use components. And under each of components, the end user still have a lot of choices here. So we want to welcome, all the contributors in this area to contribute and make the platform, more easier and more powerful.
Got it, got it. That's awesome. And Iris, if somebody is looking for like demos, where can they find it?
Oh yeah, this is a good question. We recently done some demos. I think it's under docs. Yeah, I may need to find more info while we upload the demos, but we definitely have some.
Ye-
I'm not sure whether it's under docs. I need to check this. Sorry,
We
I
do
cannot
have
answer this.
some on we do have some on the wiki. I'll throw that link in here.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. Teamwork, teamwork.
Yep.
So there was another question from our audience. Shall I go ahead and ask that question?
Sure.
Yeah. So the question is, please share any enterprise companies that are involved and contributing to OPA.
Yeah, so that that went back to
Our
I can
partnership slide, right?
yeah, but can I share my screen again? Is that okay? I can quickly.
Yeah, yeah. Please go ahead, Rachel.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to just show the website because I think that'll be easier. So our website, and you can see these right now. These are the companies that we are working with, and like I said, so we're working with them on different contributions. Pathway has made a pull request contribution. Neo4j is working on a GraphRag contribution. Prediction Guard has done a pull request with some guardrail software. Red Hat, I know, has done a validated architecture. They're working on things. We're working with a lot of these different people to start contributing over the fall. But this is the group, and we hope to have another 5 to 10 companies and more come in and work with us.
Amazing call out, Rachel. And this is super amazing. I think you hit everything: motivation for the project, companies involved, what are you doing in the community. You walked us through technical architecture, the components that are going behind the project. And Iris, thank you for sharing the GitHub and sharing different folders on how people can leverage it. I think these are some of the great aspects. However, audience, this is a question to you. If we missed any of the things you would have liked to know about the project, don't hesitate to reach out to us through the comments, because after this live, you will only be able to put your comments. So please do so. We also have LF data and AI resources like mailing list and Slack channel. So if you go to our website, on LFAI and data, you will find our wiki and Slack channel. So I would highly encourage you to join. And please also join the project if you are interested in it. Rachel and Iris and their team is doing wonderful work. So please get involved. Awesome. So I think we are at time, but I would love to know if you have any parting thoughts, Rachel and Iris. I would, want to give a floor to you.
Iris, do you have anything?
No, thank you very much for hosting us today. And we are looking forward to more contribution to the project.
And I would just say, first of all, thank you to Iris very much for coming in and being my co-presenter. And it takes a lot of people and a lot of work. So we already have a lot of great people working on it. throughout different companies, and we're looking for more. And I just wanted to thank you for the opportunity to talk about it, and that you are going to be talking about so many different projects. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, and Rachel. Thank you, Rachel and Iris. Amazing to have you as well, and hope to see more contributions come in, and we can bring you again on the TAC Talks. With that, everybody, hi, and thank you so much for joining. This is Vini Jaiswal, Chair of Technical Advisory Board at Linux Foundation's AI and Data Foundation. If you do have any requests, if you would like me to bring any guests to this talk, please definitely put your suggestions and send them my way, and we will definitely make sure to include them in the future talks. With that, I would like to thank you all for joining us, and see you back next Tuesday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Yeah, thank you all.